Hey friends, welcome. Here we are. It's the 23rd. Today is the 23rd in New Zealand of March 2022. This is Chat with Matt, half an hour or so to talk about whatever might be going on. I know I do have some questions written in ahead of time because I had a quick read of them, but I'm completely forgotten what they are, so now I have to find them, and I am attempting to do so. No, that's the wrong group. It's easy to get frustrated with yourself when you don't appear to be very far. Right, so I'm in the right space, and there's my thing, and there's the notification, and here are the questions from Natalie. Awesome. I'll have a drink. How you guys going? It's been weird, eh? Right, God, has anyone out there had any decent sleep in the last week? It's been pretty pretty hard to achieve by most accounts, this thing called sleep. I know no one really in my life is sleeping particularly well at the moment, including myself. It's been one big flow on from, coming down with COVID 8-9 days ago, through to the full moon intensification, and then the equinox a couple of days ago, 2 days ago now. Yeah. Hey, Sister Susie. So, yeah, Susie said full on awake until 1 a.m. last night. I've been staying up reasonably late, not that late, but then still not sleeping very well. So, anyways, I think last night was better than I have had previous few nights where, sleep was very, very scarce, but it was still very broken, and a huge amount of dreaming and energetic processing. That's what I'm having the experience of, a huge amount of energetic processing that is feeling very uncomfortable, both mentally, emotionally, but also physically in the body. Like my body is uncomfortable with energy, not aching, but almost buzzing in a irritating way. So yeah, that's my experience of it. And I know, especially my eldest, Lucas, is also really struggling with sleep at the moment, which then puts everything else, makes everything else a lot harder, because then mental stability and emotional stability gets much harder to achieve. So that's difficult, right? It's a difficult time right now, but it's rather than seeing it as a bad thing, I tend to like to frame these things in positive ways, and whatever is going on is oh God, again? Audra said, lots of dreams. Hillary Clinton tried to assassinate me last night. I said again. Yeah, that's, the energy's off the chart. Anyone who's sensitive generally is, well, a lot of people, I shouldn't say anyone who's sensitive. A lot of people who are sensitive seem to be struggling. I've got a lot of my clientele having a hard time at the moment, particularly with sleep, and then the follow on from that, feeling attacked again. Susie, several emails around that, because that's what happens when you when you're feeling sensitive, you're not getting enough sleep, the energy's high. It feels like you're being attacked, and you are more susceptible to being attacked as well, quote unquote. The experience of being attacked is available when you have less resilience, right? When you are worn down, when you are feeling tired, you're more susceptible to basically everything uncomfortable when we're tired and energetically entangled. Hey, Sister Michelle. So let's jump into what Natalie wrote, because it actually fits in well with this. Let me just do a refresh on it. Natalie said, I would like to understand how to clear blocks. I would love to hear you speak again on the feelings coming up to be released and how to work with anxiety and feelings of inadequacy. I know you speak on it often, but at the moment I need those reminders often. I have been replaying your last chat with Matt, feeling it really helpful. I have recently started a new job. It is very overwhelming. I want to stand strong in my meanness, and I need to have clarity and boundaries. Could you clarify what having boundaries actually means? I am unsure. Love and light. Awesome. And then there's another question, but I'll move to that next because I don't need to confuse myself. Okay, let's start with this thing called clearing blocks, because this is a big thing that trips a lot of people up. Firstly, understand this thing called a block is never 100%, nor is it ever 0%. You are never 100% clear or 100% blocked. All of us have a level of blockage, quote unquote blockage, resistance, limitation, interference in our field of some kind, of some sort. That is the nature of being embodied in a human. So I say that so that you can let go of this idea of wondering whether you've cleared your block yet, right? Quote unquote. It's not like clearing a drain, right? I know we get that idea that the drain is blocked, the water won't flow, we put the plunger on it, we clear it, the water now flows. Great analogy, but it doesn't fit well. It doesn't fit well with what these things called energetic blocks are. Blocks isn't a great term to use. It is interference, and it is limitation, and it is resistance, and it does stop things flowing, or at least reduce the flow of energy through your field. And that's why people call it block, because it's reducing the flow of energy through your field. But it's not quite as cut and dry as the way our intellectual mind wants to frame up the narrative, right? Frame up the analogy. So if we can let go of that, we're going to be better off, so that we can work in the grey areas and get out of wanting things to be absolute, because they never will be. Understand how to clear blocks. So to progress through the process of becoming less interfered with, less influenced by resistant energies in your field, right? That's the appropriate way, in my opinion, of rephrasing clear the block. Should I say that again? I probably won't say it the same way. So rather than thinking this idea that you have to clear a block, which sounds very simple, right? What you are doing is working to reduce the interference or influence of energetic resistance that's in your field. That's what you are doing. And it's a process, and it's a slow process. Slow as relative to how fast you want it to happen anyway. Right? If we put it relative to how fast you want it to happen, it's a very slow process. Absolutely, how quick or slow is it? It doesn't matter, because time doesn't exist, right? So these time frames and these judgments of fast and slow are meaningless in the bigger scheme of things, but in relative to a human lifetime, and relative to how fast your human intellect, your patience wants things to change, it's a slow process. So you have to be in acceptance of that to move through the process with any degree of comfort. Hey, Brother Joe, I know you're not a sister, but most people who join are sisters. Habit. So clearing blocks is just the process of moving through the procedure of reducing the influence that interfering energies, influential energies, negatively influential energies have in your field. We do that by maintaining our attention on the outcome that we desire. And I say it again. So to quote unquote clear the blocks, your job is, rather than focusing on the thing that you think is blocking you and then working hard to try and clear it, right? You actually focus your attention and your energy on the state of being that you desire to achieve, that is on the other side of being overly influenced by this negative resistance. You focus on your freedom. You actually align your energies with freedom, and you start acting as if you are free, even though it is frustrating because there's influence there, there's interference there that's reducing your ability to have the freedom. You have to work in this space where you are choosing to align with the energy of freedom, even though you have the influence and the interference in your energetic space. You have to be willing to accept that the interference is there. So it's not about denying it. It's not about trying to hide it from yourself. It's not about trying to suppress the experience, the feelings of being blocked, quote unquote, being interfered with in a negatively influential way. But at the same time, it's not allowing the experience and the feelings of being blocked, negatively interfered with, to predominate your energetic experience and to overly create frustration, anger, sadness, grief, sense of hopelessness, uselessness, worthlessness, etc. Right? So we have to work in a very disciplined way, really, with our mindset and with our energy field. We are all negatively interfered with. All of us. We're living in this society right now which is in the process of having a huge unraveling of negative interference, right? Resistance, limitation. There's been a huge field of energy built around keeping us controlled and limited and under the authoritarian control of the hierarchy. And that's falling away, and it's interfering with and influencing all of us to some degree or another. So no one is immune from feeling blocked right now. No one is getting a free pass to living their most expansive, joyful, creative life right now. Everyone is having to step past resistance, fear-based resistance, that's trying to limit them from stepping into this more expansive expression of themselves. So no one is alone here, and no one has a free pass. So this is what we're working with. So the next bit was, I'd love to hear you speak on the feelings coming up to be released and how to work with anxiety and feelings of inadequacy. Okay, so just as I said, there's a lot of stuff coming up right now to be cleared away. This is the clearing of the blocks, right? The feelings of inadequacy arising is you moving through the process of, quote unquote, clearing your blocks. So the way to work with that is in a positive way, right? To maintain a positive attitude towards it, reminding yourself that the experience of feeling inadequate right now is actually the process of you becoming free. So it's not you failing, and you don't need to try harder to avoid the feelings of inadequacy, right? A lot of people think when they're feeling inadequate, when they're feeling sad, when they're feeling angry, that they've somehow failed, that they've somehow fallen backwards into the experience. We're not trying to elevate ourselves out of the experience of this stuff. We're trying to elevate ourselves out of being overly influenced by the experience, right? So, but you would be thinking, but surely feeling it is being overly influenced by it. But no, it's not, right? We can't avoid the feelings. It's crazy to try and avoid the feelings. We have to be willing to feel what we are releasing. But just because you're feeling it doesn't mean it has to become you. This is the point, right? This is where the mastery is. This is the spiritual work. This is the growth, is differentiating what you are feeling and who you are being. And you get to choose who you are being, but you don't get to choose what you are feeling. What you are feeling is by and large coming up automatically as energies are shifting through your field and you are moving through a process of purification. So be okay about feeling all sorts of stuff. And a lot of it is uncomfortable, and a lot of it is quote unquote painful, and a lot of it you don't want to feel. We understand that. You have aversions to feeling what you're feeling. Can you maintain a positive attitude as you go through the process of feeling what you don't want to feel and of feeling terrible? Right, and just reminding yourself, what I'm feeling is what I'm releasing. What I'm feeling is what I'm releasing. This is not who I'm being. This is aspects of my past that I've been carrying for a long time, like bricks in my backpack. And this is the opportunity to let them go. This is the opportunity to have them seen and recognized and released. Now, releasing my blocks, when does that happen? I want to have some verification. I'm not sure that I'm doing it right. No one is sure they're doing it right. No one really gets some sort of super satisfying experience like you've just gone to the toilet, right, and let go of a whole heap of your shit. It doesn't feel that way. It's not nearly that cut and dry, not nearly that obvious that I've just released my blocks, right, like you've just cleared the drain. It's a much slower process. So we have to be okay with that. We have to make peace with this idea that the process is not satisfying to the intellect that likes the idea of completions. Okay, so let's move on to this next bit. I've recently started a new job. I find it very overwhelming. I want to stand strong in my meanness, and I need to have clarity and boundaries. So that's a story right there. I need to have clarity and boundaries. Who told you that, right? Where did you get that idea that I need to have clarity and boundaries? It's like a rule that's been handed down on a stone tablet. You need to have clarity and boundaries. Do you? What is clarity and boundaries? And when do you know you've got it? And when you've got it, you will have it, and then you won't be overwhelmed in your new job, apparently, because that's what you need right now. I'm not making fun of you, but I'm highlighting the way that we make these rules. We get suckered into these rules. We find ourselves coming up against these beliefs that I need something in order to be happy. I need something in order to be successful. And sometimes the things that we think we need are reasonably obscure concepts, like clarity and boundaries. What does that mean? Clarity and boundaries. Really, in absolute terms, what does it mean? Because it's not there in the absolute, right? These are concepts, and they're relative concepts. Clarity is only relative to something else. Everything is cloudy to some degree, hey brother Glenn, and everything is opaque, relative to something else, right? Clarity is a relative measurement, only relative to something else, right? Boundaries are another really, really entangled concept that trips so many people up, right? Oh, I need to have better boundaries. You need to appreciate yourself more. That's what needs to happen, right? You need to accept yourself. Boundaries happen automatically. People who put a lot of work into trying to maintain their boundaries usually get entangled, right? They get tripped up in themselves. They put a lot of effort into trying to control other people, right? Because that's what boundaries basically are to a lot of people's concept, right? Boundaries are stopping other people doing things to you that you don't want them to do. Oh, I need to have better boundaries. They shouldn't be doing that to me anymore. You're trying to control other people. It's not going to work. It's always going to end terribly if that's your right concept of boundaries, is stopping other people doing things to you. We can't stop other people doing anything to us. What we can do is control how it influences us, right? How do their actions influence you? Is it causing you upset? Oh, no, but they shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be doing that, right? Who says they shouldn't, right? They're an aspect of God. They can do what they want, right? Oh, but you're not allowed to tell you. They're overriding my boundaries. No one cares. No one cares. So the point is, my friends, is to get out of this judgmental idea that other people are doing the wrong thing by overstepping your boundaries. And let go of this whole concept and just come back to loving yourself and building your own energy up so that it doesn't matter what other people are doing, it's not influencing you. Job done. Problem solved, right? Boundaries, completely your own, what's the right word? Experience of any particular situation. So, standing strong in my meanness. That is basically... Hang on, I've just got a career coming. Thanks, mate. Thank you. Standing strong in my meanness is basically just really accepting yourself. That comes down from, first of all, we have to have self-awareness. So we have to have an understanding of who I am and what experiences I'm having. Now, don't get lost in that, concept of know thyself, because it's a very, very deep, slippery hole of an experience, right? None of us come to the absolute conclusion of who we are, because it's beyond conceptualization to the human having the experience. But as we become aware more and more of what is driving us and our experiences in now moments, when we become aware of ourselves and how others are interfering with us or influencing us, right? How other energies around us are having influence over the experience that we're having, we get to make choice. Until there is awareness, there is no choice. And if there's no choice, then there's no life. Life is basically a succession of choices. And if you're not making choices, you're not actually living, really. Yeah, your biology might be working, but you're not exercising your experience of life, right? You're not a soul having an experience. You're not having experiences if you're not making choices, right? You are just being swept along. And while, there is, that is an experience as well. As a creator being, you are here to make choices. You are here to experiment. You are here to experience life by interacting with it. And the way we interact with life is to make choices, to make decisions. So standing strong in my meanness basically is maintaining awareness of who you are and what's influencing you with a space of acceptance. Accepting yourself, that you've been influenced by all sorts of things from the past, accepting yourself that there are all sorts of influences over how you can interact in the world and what is making you feel comfortable or uncomfortable, etc., etc., etc. You start to be aware and you accept that this is a complex experience, right? It's an entangled experience, and it's not supposed to be simple. It's not supposed to be easily understood. It's not supposed to be black and white, cut and dry. It's supposed to be rich and messy and entangled and beyond your ability to understand. That's the beauty of this world, that you can really have deep experiences well beyond what you can understand. When you get into that and you fully accept all of that and you relax in all of that, boundaries are basically held, right? Because you just honor yourself. It's a natural experience. It's like people, looking to increase their self-love. And so they're trying to do all of these things that they've been told is self-loving. And none of it really works, right? You don't do self-love from the outside in. It's an inside-out experience. And self-love naturally arises when you're aware of yourself, when you accept yourself, and when you start appreciating yourself, right? Then the experience of love is naturally there for you, right? But as long as you are not accepting the situations you're in and judging yourself and the situations as wrong and fighting against them, there's no acceptance and there's no appreciation, right? You can't appreciate what you won't accept, right? Because you don't like it. You want it to be a different way. You want it to be the fairy tale that you were sold out of the book, right? Out of the indoctrination. So a lot of it's letting go of expectations the way that it should be, right? That I should be clear and have strong boundaries. But you don't even know what that is, but you should have them, right? And now you're trying to measure whether you have them, coming up short, feeling wrong about yourself. You're not in self-acceptance, you're not in self-appreciation, you're not in self-love. So of course other people are walking all over you. If you're not loving yourself, other people are not going to be loving you either, right? Because you can only receive their love to the degree at which you love yourself, right? That's obvious, right? Love is an experience. Now, of course, other people come in and help us love ourselves as well. It's not that it never happens in an absolute linear fashion, right? It's not that you have to absolutely love yourself to the nth degree before until you can experience love coming from other people. Not at all. Of course, we've all experienced love coming from outside of ourselves in our moments of complete self-hatred. And it's it's what we call grace, right? It's been very helpful. So nothing's absolute, but in general, the more that you can maintain self-awareness and self-acceptance, and then allow that to evolve into self-appreciation, everything else will look after itself from there. Self-love will naturally arise. You will naturally hold loving boundaries with other people. And you will be clear about what's important to you when you are coming from a vibration of self-acceptance, self-appreciation, and self-love. So hopefully that helps. Sort of maybe you've been talking in riddles, but hopefully it's flowing. And Natalie wrote in again and said, me again, I've got a lot on my mind. My new job being a primary school teacher, I'm overwhelmed with how much my head is so full. I can hardly sleep. How do I find my expansiveness and do this job differently so that I can bring joy as well as creating a safe place for so many kids and their different personalities? Okay, so yeah, you have to relax, basically. Awesome, Susie. I'm glad you found that was resonating. So yes, we all have a lot on our mind right now. There is a lot of information being projected at us intellectually right now. Huge amounts of quote unquote conspiracy theory, huge amount of entangled information coming from the media to keep people in fear. A huge amount of information about what's going on in various parts of the world, what's going on with, numbers. People, they've been using these numbers to keep people hate maths, numbers are a great way to stress out the population. So what have we been dealing with in the news for years now? Numbers, right? It's not a conspiracy, really. So yeah, heads are very full. And I would beseech each and every one of you to defrag your mentality, right? Which for me is like getting out in nature and watching birds in trees and butterflies on flowers. Get out, watch the ocean, watch waves rolling in. Get out, lie on a meadow and watch the freaking clouds moving across the sky. Get into nature and get out of your mind, get out of the numbers, get out of all of the arguments, get out of all of the narratives, the conspiracies, the concerns, the fears. And now I know starting a new job is always hard, Natalie. And I said at the start of the call, no one's sleeping well at the moment. So be an allowance of that it's not just your job and the amount of information overload that is creating your difficulty in sleeping, but it will not be helping. Your job is to invest an adequate amount of time, whatever that is for you, an adequate amount of time in doing processes that help you to relax. So I would encourage you to be doing yoga or Tai Chi or some sort of gentle exercise. I would be encouraging you to be doing breathing exercises, pranayama, etc. I'd be encouraging you to do a degree of meditation, whatever sort of meditation really works for you. I'd be encouraging you to make sure your nutrition is good and that you are having enough vitamins that are going to help you, like B vitamins, magnesium, etc. All of the things that help sustain a body that is under stress, right? Because once we get into stress, we find ourselves depleted in certain necessary nutrients that then unfortunately keep us in stress, right? Because the body now doesn't have what it needs to create the enzymes and the brain chemistry, etc., that helps us bring us back to homeostasis. So we can get into this spiral very, very quickly. So things like magnesium and adequate minerals is really important. Things like the B vitamins is also really, really beneficial. Getting enough good quality protein, etc., can also be helpful. Minimizing the amount of sugar you have when you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed is important, right? Because generally when we get stressed, we start craving sugar, but unfortunately the sugar is a stimulant. It's like putting petrol on a fire, right? It doesn't help if you start feeding yourself sugar when your body's already stressed, right? You're going to amplify the anxiety experience, right? You amplify the anxiety experience when you start feeding your body sugar and other crap food, artificial stuff as well, artificial sweetness, artificial colors and flavors, etc. You don't want any of that, especially when you are already feeling anxious and on edge and overwhelmed. So bring your diet back, come back to wholesome foods, drink lots of good water, put a pinch of sea salt in your water, do the things that you need to do to look after your physicality, right? Because if a physicality's, running on suboptimal fuel and is already stressed out, it's very hard to bring your mentality and your emotionality back into homeostasis. It's really, really hard. So Susie wrote, apparently the veil, quote unquote, is lifted, so asking for help is more powerful than ever. Yeah, I think generally this experience, generally as we progress, asking for help is getting easier and easier. or more powerful as we progress. We're all becoming more and more connected to the truth of who we be. We're all becoming more sensitive to our divinity. This is what's happening. This is why we're not sleeping, because we're going through an awakening process of energetic up-leveling, which is exciting but uncomfortable, right? You know, the old, you know, we've been talking for several years about changing from a carbon base to a crystalline base. That's basically what's happening here. We're all becoming much more advanced, or we're gaining much more advanced vehicles, right? Our vehicle is going through an upgrade here, which is hence why I'm saying cut some of this crap food. Sugar is a carbon-based food. We need to get out of too much of that, right, and get back to eating high vibrational living foods, right? Salads and fruits and vegetables and nuts that are still, you know, fresh, etc. We need to get back to eating a much more vibrant diet, because it's what's supporting the direction that our body is going in, and that's going to help us mentally and emotionally do a better time. And you know, asking for help basically is just aligning yourself with the outcome that you desire. Allow yourself not to get too caught up in a subservient role or in a hierarchical role, right? Archangel Michael is no more powerful than you, nor is Brother Jesus, Ascended Master Jesus, the Lord Jesus, no more powerful than you inherently, right? Yeah, a little bit further along the path, but basically made up of the same stuff. The point is not to get into this disempowered role with spirit, right? It's to own who you be, and to stand up in your own, you know, pull your socks up, take responsibility for what you have the capacity to be and do here on the planet, and start being it, right? So yeah, by all means, ask for help, but don't do it in some sort of whiny, sort of prey, sort of subservient way, right? You're not beseeching others to come and save you, right? You're asking for some support in you choosing to stand in your own light and stand in your own acceptance, and move through a process of purifying and progressing through the discomfort of this process. Right, I'm not sure if I finished this question. So, how do I find my expansiveness and do this job differently? You make a choice. Consistently make a choice to relax out of the experience of overwhelm and stress-based trying to make sense of all of the information that you've been given, and you come back into your heart and you show up in front of the kids and you be an expansive expression of yourself for those kids. It's just a choice. It's just a choice. Now, of course, it's going to require balance. You have to be compliant with your employer's desires, at least to a level that satisfies your employer. We're all dancing with this. We all have to be compliant to a degree with what society is requesting from us, to a degree. I'm not saying we should all be 100% compliant, but I'm not saying that we should all be 100% non-compliant either. We have to work within the bounds of what is sensible, what is for our highest and best benefit here. The point is to show up as who we be in this world with confidence. And when we do that for the kids, when we do that for others in our lives, whether we're doing it as a primary school teacher or whether we're just doing it walking in the world, right? When we really show up as an example, then that is the best education we can give anyone. That is the best help. That is the best inspiration that we can do for anyone. So definitely holding space for you, Natalie. I know it's really, really difficult in the education system at the moment. The education system is in the very early stages of a full overhaul in how it's going to function and how it's going to provide for the children of our future. So it is a very exciting space, but it's also a very frustrating space. A lot of the old is still really hanging on to the hierarchy of control, and that's not going to that's just not going to be swept under the carpet. That has to be brought out into the open and really dealt to and that's not generally going to be a very comfortable experience for anyone involved. So so be an allowance that your head is full, and do what you need to help relax through that experience and show up as best you can. It's always going to be a balancing act. You want to show up for the kids as best you can, and you need to do what you need to do to maintain your job. And there's always a level of compromise that has to happen there, right? You're never going to be 100% compliant with all of the head stuff, and you're never going to be 100% expansive in your heart stuff. We have to find balance through that, and that is just what life is about, right? We don't need to commiserate that. You know, a lot of people say there should be no compromises. It's rubbish. All of life is a compromise. The very act of making any choice is a compromise, because we have ultimately infinite number of choices that we can make at any one moment. We have to compromise some of our desires in order to follow other desires. That's just the nature of this world, right? We don't get to have everything all at once. That the whole reason we've individuated as an aspect of God's source universe to have experience is to break down this thing, because we couldn't experience all of it at once, right? As God. So we are breaking it down, and in experiencing life in a sort of a linear way, right? We're breaking this down into having linear experiences, right? Which are delusory in nature, but nonetheless, we're doing that for a reason, and to have these experiences. But these experiences and the choices that we're making have always got compromise woven all the way through them. That's the nature. So be okay. Be okay that we're all compromising all of the time. And don't get so caught up in, you know, some of this new age BS around, oh, you shouldn't compromise, right? You can have your most ultimate joyful life completely 100% on your terms. It's like, what sort of bullshit is that, you know? And of course, it all comes down to what is your terms and what is you that are having these terms to start with. So on the most expansive, you know, version of yourself, it is all on your terms, of course, because it's all you. You know, what's not you, and therefore it is all your terms, because, you know, but that's not what people mean, and it's not what people get caught up, hung up, strung up, entangled in these concepts, that they're not doing life right yet because they're still having to make compromises, and everything's not 100% joyful, and they're still having to do things that feel a little bit sacrificial. Get over it. Pull your socks up, get out there and just do the best that you can, and choose to enjoy the fact. You know, don't commiserate the fact that you're having to make a compromise. Just enjoy it. You made a choice, and now you're living it, and it's going to lead to you developing wisdom. Okay, friends, much love. Hopefully that's helped for today. Good news is I'm on the improve in terms of my health and vitality, and I will be around like a rissole. We'll definitely be back next week. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or feel that I can help you, in the meantime, just reach out, right? I'm trying to think if there's something else coming up, but no, I don't think so. We had our equinox, we've had our full moon. Much love. I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now. Namaste. I haven't managed to hit the finish button.